Unraveling the mystery. 48 hours had passed since the first observable changes in the enigmatic object. The research facility had transformed into a fortress of scientific scrutiny, with security protocols tightened to an unprecedented level. Dr. Elena Rodriguez hadn't slept more than 3 hours in total, her entire focus consumed by the inexplicable phenomenon before her. The egg, if it could still be called that, had defied every analytical approach. Quantum resonance scans, molecular deconstruction attempts, and advanced spectral imaging had revealed nothing but increasingly complex layers of mystery. Each time the research team believed they were on the verge of understanding, the object would shift, adapting in ways that seemed to suggest an almost sentient resistance. "It's responding to us," Dr. Akira Yamamoto, the team's quantum physicist, muttered, his eyes never leaving the holographic displays. "Not just to our equipment, but to our presence. Look at these quantum entanglement readings." Marcus Chen nodded, his fingers rapidly inputting data into the sophisticated tracking system. "The molecular structure is learning. It's as if the entire object is one massive neural network, constantly reconfiguring itself." Elena studied the latest batch of readings. The egg had begun to emit a low-frequency vibration that seemed to resonate with the very foundations of the research facility. Sensitive equipment would occasionally glitch, instruments would momentarily lose calibration, and then return to perfect functionality. "We're missing something," she said, her voice cutting through the ambient hum of scientific equipment. "This isn't just a passive object. It's actively engaged in some form of communication or adaptation." A sudden alarm blared through the facility. The containment field surrounding the egg flickered, its quantum stabilization momentarily compromised. For a split second, the object seemed to pulse with an intense, almost blinding light. Dr. Yamamoto's hands flew across his console. Electromagnetic surge detected. "It's drawing energy from multiple sources. Our scanning equipment, the facility's power grid, even the ambient background radiation." The egg's surface began to transform. What had once been a smooth, iridescent shell now displayed intricate patterns that looked almost like circuitry, but alive and moving. It was as if the object was constructing a language, a complex communication system that existed beyond human comprehension. "Shut down all active scanning," Elena commanded, a note of caution in her voice. "We're antagonizing it, and I'm not certain of the potential consequences." But it was too late. The egg had begun its response. Microfractures appeared across its surface, not breaking the shell, but creating an intricate network of lines that pulsed with an internal rhythmic energy. The laboratory's temperature dropped by several degrees, and a strange, almost musical hum began to fill the air. Marcus leaned closer to Elena. "What if this isn't just an object?" he whispered. "What if it's alive?" The implications hung in the air, heavy with potential. Humanity had discovered countless mysteries in the universe, but this was different. This was something that challenged the very boundaries of what they understood about life, intelligence, and communication. As the research team watched in a mixture of terror and awe, the egg continued its slow, deliberate transformation. Something was emerging. Something was about to change everything they knew about their place in the universe, and they were only beginning to understand the magnitude of their discovery. The unexpected discovery. The sterile laboratory hummed with the soft electronic pulse of advanced scientific equipment. Dr. Elena Rodriguez adjusted her protective goggles, her dark eyes fixed on the peculiar spherical objects suspended in the anti-gravitational containment field. It wasn't like anything she had ever seen before. A perfect oval of iridescent silver blue, with subtle fractal patterns that seemed to shift and change when viewed from different angles. Outside the research facility's reinforced windows, the Atacama Desert stretched endlessly, a fitting backdrop for humanity's most extraordinary xenobiological discovery. The object had been recovered from a meteorite impact site 3 months ago, buried deep within a crater that had puzzled scientists from multiple disciplines. "Thermal scan complete," announced Marcus Chen, her lead research assistant, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface. Temperature remains constant at 37.2 degrees Celsius, consistent with something living, but unlike any biological signature we've ever recorded. Elena leaned closer, her breath catching in her throat. The egg, if one could call it that, defied every known classification. Its molecular structure appeared to be simultaneously organic and synthetic, a complexity that challenged everything she understood about life itself. "Run another spectral analysis," she instructed, her voice calm despite the excitement bubbling beneath her professional demeanor. "Focus on the molecular interface between the external shell and internal structure." The research team had been working in complete secrecy. The United Nations Xenobiological Research Division had imposed the highest level of classification on this project. Rumors had begun to circulate among the top-level scientists, whispers of something that could fundamentally change humanity's understanding of extraterrestrial life. Marcus frowned at the incoming data. "Dr. Rodriguez, these readings are impossible. The internal composition is adapting. It's like the object is responding to our scanning wavelengths." Elena's scientific curiosity burned bright. She had spent her entire career studying the potential for life beyond Earth. But this was different. This was something unprecedented. The egg, if it could be called an egg, seemed to possess an intelligence that defied conventional understanding. A subtle vibration began to emanate from the containment field. The fractal patterns on the object's surface started to pulse with a soft, rhythmic glow. The laboratory's sensitive equipment began to fluctuate, instruments flickering momentarily before stabilizing. "Electromagnetic interference increasing," Marcus reported, his voice a mixture of professional detachment and barely concealed excitement. "The object is generating its own energy field." Elena stepped closer, her hand hovering near the protective glass of the containment unit. Something was happening. Something extraordinary was about to unfold. The egg's surface began to ripple, like water disturbed by an unseen force. Microscopic fissures appeared, not breaking the surface, but creating a complex network of lines that seemed to breathe with an internal rhythm. "Begin full spectrum recording," Elena commanded. "Document every single millisecond." Outside, the desert wind swept across the research facility, carrying with it the promise of a revelation that would challenge everything humanity believed about life, intelligence, and their place in the universe. Little did they know that within this seemingly innocuous egg lay a potential that would rewrite the very definition of existence, a story of contact, transformation, and the unpredictable nature of first encounters. The egg pulsed and waited. The awakening. The world outside the research facility ceased to exist. Time became a fluid concept, measured only by the increasingly erratic pulses emanating from the extraordinary object. Dr. Elena Rodriguez had long since abandoned traditional scientific protocols. Now, survival and understanding were their only objectives. Dr. Akira Yamamoto's hands trembled as he reviewed the latest data. "The energy signatures are exponential," he reported, his voice a mixture of scientific excitement and raw fear. "It's not just absorbing energy. It's converting it, transforming it into something we can't even begin to comprehend." The egg had evolved beyond their initial understanding. What had started as a simple spherical object was now a complex, living network of energy and matter. Holographic projections flickered around the containment unit, revealing intricate patterns that seemed to breathe with an internal logic. "Communication attempt detected," Marcus Chen announced, his fingers racing across the holographic interface. "But it's not like any communication protocol we've ever seen. It's more like a language of pure information." Suddenly, the facility's power grid began to fluctuate. Lights dimmed and brightened in a rhythmic pattern that felt almost purposeful. The egg's surface had transformed completely, now resembling a three-dimensional map of impossible geometries, shifting and reconfiguring with each passing moment. Elena approached the containment unit, her protective suit humming with its own advanced technological defenses. Something was happening. Something monumental. A breakthrough came unexpectedly. The egg surface began to project a series of complex geometric patterns, not random, but deliberate. Mathematical equations formed and dissolved, complex algorithms that seemed to speak of advanced scientific understanding far beyond human capability. "It's trying to communicate," Dr. Yamamoto whispered, "but not through sound, or language, or any traditional method. It's communicating through pure mathematical conceptualization." The room temperature dropped dramatically. Electronic equipment began to malfunction, then recalibrate with impossible precision. The egg was learning, adapting, growing more complex with each passing moment. Then, without warning, everything stopped. The geometric patterns froze. The energy signatures stabilized. For a moment, the entire research facility held its collective breath. A single, perfect holographic image emerged from the egg surface. It was a representation, not of any known life form, but of a complex ecosystem. Planets, star systems, intricate networks of energy and matter, all interconnected in a way that defied current scientific understanding. "First contact," Marcus breathed, his voice barely a whisper. But this was no ordinary first contact. This was something else entirely. The egg was not just a vessel of communication, it was a gateway, a bridge between humanity's limited understanding and something far more profound. Elena stepped forward, her hand hovering near the holographic projection. In that moment, she understood that everything they thought they knew about life, intelligence, and the universe was about to change forever. The egg pulsed, and for the first time, humanity began to truly listen. As the holographic image expanded, revealing layers of complexity beyond imagination, one thing became crystal clear. They were no longer just observers. They had become participants in a cosmic dialogue that would reshape their entire understanding of existence. Convergence. The global response was immediate and unprecedented. Within hours of the research facility's initial report, a United Nations Emergency Council had been convened. World leaders, top scientists, and military strategists gathered in a secure underground facility beneath Geneva, their collective anxiety palpable. Dr. Elena Rodriguez found herself at the center of a storm she had never anticipated. The holographic projections from the egg, now classified as the Nexus object, were being analyzed by the most brilliant minds on the planet. Each layer of information revealed something more startling than the last. "It's not just a message," Dr. Akira Yamamoto explained to the assembled council, his voice steady despite the weight of their discovery. "It's a blueprint, a comprehensive map of interstellar communication that suggests we're not just being contacted, we're being evaluated." The military representatives shifted uncomfortably. General Marcus Holloway, a decorated veteran with a reputation for strategic thinking, leaned forward. "Evaluated? By whom? For what purpose?" Elena stepped forward, her presentation cutting through the tension. The holographic display showed intricate networks of energy, planetary systems, and complex mathematical constructs that seemed to pulse with living intelligence. "This isn't a traditional form of communication," she explained. "It's more like a test. The egg, the Nexus object, is presenting humanity with a series of challenges, scientific, philosophical, and potentially existential." The room fell silent. The holographic display began to shift, revealing a series of complex scenarios, planetary ecosystems in various states of development, technological challenges that pushed the boundaries of human understanding, ethical dilemmas that seemed to probe the very essence of human nature. "It's adaptive," Marcus Chen noted, analyzing the real-time data. "Each projection changes based on our collective response. It's like the object is learning about us, even as we attempt to understand it." Suddenly, the facility's most secure communication channels began to light up. Reports came flooding in from research stations around the globe. Similar discoveries, though none as advanced as the Atacama facility's Nexus object, were being reported. Small, seemingly insignificant objects that defied scientific understanding were appearing in research centers, universities, and remote scientific outposts. General Holloway's military instincts kicked in. Are these additional contact points, or potential threats? Dr. Yamamoto shook his head. They're more like nodes, interconnected points of a larger network, each one unique, but part of a collective intelligence far beyond our current comprehension. The implications were staggering. Humanity was no longer just a passive observer in the universe. They were being challenged, evaluated, perhaps even invited to participate in something far greater than themselves. Alina looked at the pulsing holographic display, a mix of scientific curiosity and profound respect washing over her. The Nexus object was more than a discovery. It was an invitation to something extraordinary. As the world's leaders debated, argued, and strategized, the egg continued its silent communication, waiting, watching, challenging humanity to rise to its true potential. The convergence had begun. Transformation. 72 hours after the initial discovery, the world had transformed. The Nexus object had become more than a scientific anomaly. It was a catalyst for global unity, a force that transcended political boundaries, cultural differences, and historical conflicts. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood at the epicenter of humanity's most profound moment. The research facility had become a global command center, with scientists, philosophers, and leaders from every corner of the world collaborating in ways previously thought impossible. It's not about conquest, Dr. Akira Yamamoto explained during a global broadcast, or even communication in the traditional sense. The Nexus object is presenting us with a challenge of collective evolution. The holographic projections had evolved, now displaying intricate scenarios that tested humanity's problem-solving capabilities, ethical boundaries, and potential for collective growth. Each challenge was more complex than the last, requiring unprecedented levels of cooperation and creative thinking. Military strategists watched in awe as global conflicts began to dissolve. The Nexus object had exposed the futility of human division, presenting challenges that could only be solved through unified effort. Nations that had been enemies for generations now found themselves working together, sharing resources, knowledge, and a collective sense of purpose. Marcus Chen, tracking the global response, noted something extraordinary. The object is not just testing us, he told Elena. It's teaching us. Each scenario is designed to push our boundaries, to help us recognize our collective potential. Technological breakthroughs emerged at an unprecedented rate. Solutions to climate change, energy production, medical challenges, problems that had seemed insurmountable mere days ago, were now being solved through collaborative efforts that spanned continents and disciplines. The egg, now understood as a sophisticated testing mechanism from an unknown civilization, continued its silent evaluation. It was no longer just an object of study, but a mirror reflecting humanity's deepest potential. General Marcus Holloway, once a skeptic, now stood as a testament to the transformation. We thought we understood strength, he told the Global Council. We thought it was about power, about dominance. The Nexus object has shown us that true strength lies in collaboration, in our ability to transcend our limitations. As the final challenges were presented, humanity began to understand the true nature of the invitation. This was not a threat. This was an opportunity, a chance to prove that they were ready to join a larger, more complex universal community. The Nexus object began to change. Its iridescent surface started to shimmer, breaking down into millions of microscopic points of light, not disappearing, but transforming, distributing itself across the global research network, becoming a part of humanity's collective knowledge. Elena watched in awe as the final holographic projection emerged, a representation of potential futures, countless paths of human development, each more extraordinary than the last. The message was clear. The choice was theirs. We are not alone, she whispered, her voice carried across global communication channels. And we are more than we ever believed ourselves to be. As dawn broke across the planet, humanity stood at the threshold of a new era. The egg had cracked, and what emerged was nothing short of extraordinary. The universe was watching, and humanity was ready.